Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Tia.
Welcome to the Arrive at Happy show. I'm so excited that we're able to do this together.
Thank you for having me. I feel really privileged to be here, actually.
Aw, thank you. So, what I want to start off with is, in your own words, for you to explain and share what somatic experiencing is.
This is the gazillion dollar question.
Yes, yes. Just for someone that maybe hasn't really heard of it before, how would you
Mhm.
describe what it is?
I would describe somatic experiencing as a modality of therapeutic work that focuses on mobilizing survival physiology that's been stuck in the body for who knows how long. And it's a gentle process, or I think it can be a gentle process. It's not about re traumatizing ourselves. It is a trauma informed way of working with patterns, symptoms, things that people come to therapy for.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's really about focusing on what we notice within ourselves. And that can look a whole bunch of different ways. It can come up in imagery, it can come up in sensation, it can be emotion, it can be behavior. There's a lot of different doorways that we can attend to the nervous system through. But this is about working with the nervous system because this is where trauma hangs out.
Hmm.
And I use the words trauma and overwhelm interchangeably.
Yes.
It's really about too much happened at once too fast, and we weren't able to process it. So the body has to get really creative and figure out a way to help us get through. And then we don't get to complete those experiences, they stay kind of almost suspended in time within us. And
Right.
this is about completing those experiences and coming onto the other side actually more resilient than before the thing happened.
Okay, well, we could just spend so much time just digesting everything that you just said. And that's such a beautiful explanation. So you use the words trauma and overwhelm interchangeably, and I love how you do that. There are a lot of perceptions or even definitions of what trauma is. And for many people, overwhelm seems very different than that. You're like, oh, I was in a traumatic car accident, or I am overwhelmed by how much work and pressure my boss is putting on me and all of that. But
Yeah.
really, when you said it's too much to handle too fast and you're not able to process it,
Mm-hmm.
immediately in my mind went, oh my gosh, living through the pandemic for so many people at the such a beginning, like that was too much, too fast. How do you even process it? So
Yeah.
do you think that everyone on earth, I know there's 8 billion of us, but everyone on earth throughout their life, if you're an adult right now, you have had overwhelm, like too much, too fast? It's, I don't know anyone that probably hasn't had something like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that if you've been born into this world, then you have overwhelm. I mean, just even the birth experience to a little baby nervous system is, coming out of that environment and into this environment, there's going to be a lot to process. I think we're actually made to go through these experiences and then
Hmm.
come out the other side. This is how we grow, we develop capacity. This is how our system gets to understand regulation. So yeah, I think anyone who is living in this world is has experienced overwhelm. People talk about big T trauma and little T trauma. I don't know that I really want to get into that. I don't think about it at that level, but
Hmm.
what I believe, and this is part of the learning that I've done from training in somatic experiencing, is that trauma is not in the event, it's in the
Right.
experience of the nervous system to the event. Because you and I could both be in a situation and we're going to have different experiences of it, we're going to have different recall, and that's dependent upon the health and capacity of our individual nervous systems
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
everything that involves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So briefly, can you describe, it doesn't have to be the whole session, but for someone that is thinking, oh, interesting, like this is the type of therapy, and a lot of people and more people are doing talk therapy, whether it be cognitive behavioral or even EMDR, like there's different types of talk therapy as well. So can you share a little bit about, for someone listening to go, oh, I wonder what like a session or what would this look like? Can you share just a little bit about that?
Yeah, most sessions, they're going to look different depending on what shows up with the people that I work with, but it's generally Do you want me to talk about a first session or just like a, we've had a couple sessions and now we're
Yeah,
in the
I
work
think
kind of
like you've
thing?
had a couple sessions and what, yeah.
Okay. So we've had a couple sessions, we're doing the work. We'll show up and invite people to get comfortable, physically comfortable, support their bodies so that they can feel themselves and that most of their structure isn't straining or managing something. If
Mhm.
it doesn't have to, that helps us see what patterns kind of show up in the system unconsciously, I'll say. So we get you comfortable, we have a conversation about what you're noticing, and that can look a bunch of different ways. Sometimes we'll talk about what's going on in the moment. Sometimes there's physical pain, discomfort, old patterns showing up. Sometimes it's emotional, sort of looping stories that people are used to kind of having run through their mind. Sometimes it's an event that happened in the week, but
Mhm.
we'll just sort of check in depending on what feels important. And then we're going to notice what's happening in the body. And I'm usually going to invite people to notice that. And I'm also going to be tracking for what I see in front of me regarding eye movement and, flushing of the skin and movements in the body and what's the pulse in the neck doing and how's their breathing, because this all gives me information on what their physiology is doing. And we can see
Mhm.
when the body's going through states. And I'm just thinking you asked me to give a short answer. So I'm
No,
gonna
no,
wrap it
this
up.
is great already. This is super valuable that people like it's really about that noticing, right? And like
Yeah.
having the person tune in, but then you're also noticing with your, I want to say like your own intuition, your body,
Mhm.
your, of course, like the training and everything, but really understanding
Yeah.
what is happening and tuning into to the nervous system. And I'm going to say like your soul also.
Yeah, it's multi-layered for sure. I'm noticing with my eyes. I'm also, our nervous systems, just as humans, they ping off of each other. When you walk in your room and you can
Mm,
feel like something just went down, that information is coming from your nervous system. But there's information coming from many different layers and levels of us. So yeah, I'm kind of using all of that and noticing what's happening, and then really, Tia, and what I've been saying to clients and colleagues and friends lately, and what I'm coming to is like this work is striking me as really being about boundaries with our attention. What am I noticing? What am I feeling? The big, loud thing that's screaming at us from the inside, it's so compelling. It's so hard not to go there, but we need to build these boundaries of our attention to not keep feeding those patterns in our body. And in order to do that, I think we need supportive help. I think doing it from the inside by ourselves is really, really challenging.
yeah,
And then we also need to be able to notice what else is true.
right.
And I think that's the work. We build the capacity to notice, okay, so this thing inside of me, this story or this injury or this old experience or this sensation, whatever, it's the only thing I can notice. To have someone else go, well, what's happening in your left knee right now? It looks kind of like it's just hanging out there. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I have a left knee. Yeah, it's kind of neutral. And then the nervous system goes, oh, there is something else that's true.
Right.
And we can shift the tapestry.
Right. I mean, boundaries with our attention is so powerful. Of course, everyone listening is familiar with creating healthy boundaries, whether that be with people in your life, with your time, etc. But our attention, is so valuable and
And powerful.
powerful. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So in addition to saying, okay, who hasn't had overwhelming experience? It's like every single person, right?
Hmm.
And I will say most people, unless you are really, really investing in yourself in so many different ways, most people have an accumulation of stress in their bodies as well, and then there's symptoms of stress.
Mm.
So, what are some of when you hear kind of symptoms of stress? Because I get asked about stress. Everyone wants to know about work life balance and how do I manage stress? And so, yeah, can you just kind of talk about from your experience in your work, sort of that symptoms of stress and maybe because I think everyone thinks, oh, being alive today, it's like, yeah, you're stressful, you're working, you got kid, like it's just this is how life is.
Yeah.
But there's some point where it's like, no, maybe your level of chronic stress is something to actually look at. Like you can just keep go. So yeah, can you talk just a little bit about sort of that accumulation of stress and symptoms of stress from your perspective?
Sure. Mostly when people show up, this is what brings them into therapy is experiences of like what they call anxiety and depression,
Yep.
So these swings into like higher energy states that feel really uncomfortable and like you can't come out of them, or this shutdown of like everything feels meaningless, I'm numb all the time. That actually feels kind of nice, but I can't feel myself, I can't feel the world. Both of those are distressing. Body pain, a pattern of
Okay.
dysfunction in relationships, challenges with children, multiple doctor's visits with no answers, lack of sleep, poor digestion, like patterns of like interrupted sleep or inability to have good productive rest.
Right.
These are kind of the things that I see, or like when our heads just won't shut off or slow down or quiet.
So that's a perfect segue into in the corporate world, which is where I spend a lot of time giving talks and working with leaders. Meditation, it's wonderful. It's become so mainstream, and
Mm-hmm.
not that every single person meditates, but it's well known, and it's companies are investing a lot into it, and people are, even if they're not doing it, they know that the benefits are, like, just the mainstream media has dedicated so much time to this.
Yep.
And before I met you, I actually had worked with a meditation coach and learned a lot about meditation from her. And it's interesting, when I first met you, you said something like, we're not really going to be focusing on the breath. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting that, it's different. So for those listening that meditate or maybe know about meditation, can you explain a little bit? And I know you did, but just to go a little bit deeper on, we're not really necessarily working with the breath. We're really tuning into the nervous system. So can you share about that a little bit?
I will do my best, but I want to preface what I'm going to say with the confession that I haven't spent a lot of time digging into or researching or even practicing meditation myself.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
going to
okay.
be speaking from this place of that.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to say is that I did try meditation personally for a while at a certain stage in my life to help me manage this stuff before I knew about working with the body in this particular way that we're talking about. And it actually had a reverse effect for me.
And it does on many people. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is why when I talk to clients, we talk about this, because people with early developmental trauma, especially like pre-birth, birth, up to 2 to 5 years old, these precognitive nonverbal places, when
Mhm.
overwhelm happens to the nervous system, if we dive into meditation, we can support the body and the nervous system to have these lovely expansive experiences where we feel like this peace and pleasure and like something different than what we're used to, but the body actually doesn't have the capacity to sustain that at that place
Mm.
unless some preliminary work has been done in the nervous system. So we can have this expansion, and then the body has to go into contraction in order to compensate. And this is where people wind up in emergency, and like everything gets destabilized. And I had some pretty close experiences to this personally, so I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
It's a part of assessment when I work with people about what their early life was like, because people are like, and I meditate and like things just seem worse, and like there's a legitimate physiological reason for that. And
Yeah.
instead of people taking on the shame of like, wow, I can't do anything to help myself, I must be really
And there
broken.
are a lot of people that's so interesting. A lot of people have shame, like, I can't meditate, I'm not good. And it's like, gosh, you shouldn't have shame about if you can meditate or not. But some
Yeah.
people feel that way. So I think that's really important that you noted that.
Yeah. About the breath, people, especially I hear in like meditation practices and stuff like that, the breath is used as a vehicle
Yeah.
to, support meditative work. And in somatic experiencing, or the way that I work with it, is we allow the breath to show us where the nervous system is at. So if the breath starts getting,
Mm.
heightened, or if the breath gets really slow and shallow, this lets me know kind of where we are in the physiological
I
process.
love that.
And that's really, really helpful information for navigating, you know,
Yes.
where we're headed. So we don't want
Yeah.
to manage the breath in this work, because the breath is like information.
The breath is information. Oh my gosh, you just
Yeah.
gave me goosebumps. And I'm thinking of course, my little daughter. For everyone, just write this down. Okay, if you're driving, don't do that. Put it in a note after, but just the breath, our breath shows us where the nervous system is at. That
Mm-hmm.
it is powerful information. I love, love, love that. So everyone wants to be more resilient. And I know one of the big outcomes of doing this type of work, somatic work. And so can you share a little bit about how does this bottom-up approach, right? We're working with the body versus talking, which a lot of people know. There's a type of therapy where you go and talk. This is working with your physical body, and of course, mind body, or talking every single second. How does working with the body make us more resilient to deal with the challenge, which is being a human?
Okay, we're going to need a follow-up interview. There's so many good questions you're asking, but I'll see if I can do this succinctly. You may have heard of like the broken bone theory, Tia, and I'm not even sure if I'm naming that correctly, but it's this idea that like when you break a bone and you set it properly and it gets to heal properly, that it's actually stronger in the broken place than if the break never happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the nervous system works the same. If we do good repair at the level of the nervous system with ruptures that happened or with overwhelm, if we support and allow the conditions for the nervous system to move through these survival states into completion of them, which it never got to do, and that's why we're having all these symptoms, then we're actually going to be more resilient on the other side, because the body had this experience of going into activation, then coming back down into regulation, and basically surviving the thing. Now, anyone who's here, anyone who's listening, we've all survived the things because here we are.
Right.
If we're still in the symptoms of past experiences, if we don't feel like we can feel ourselves and be present in the moment, and we're not feeling the fullness of our life, there's likely some stuff that's hanging on that we haven't been able to move through in a way that lets our body go, I did that. And now I'm here and I can feel my life energy and I can engage. Our life energy is being used up to kind of hold these experiences in abeyance in our tissues and our bodies. So we want to help those energies, for lack of a better word, to move through and complete. And then we kind of come into a new opening, a new expansion, more capacity. That's the convoluted way I would express it.
Right. No, that's clear. Yeah, really, really powerful. So there's this massive I think it's multi-trillion dollar industry, which is the wellness industry, right? And there's so many. Meditation could fall under that. I mean, there's like a million different things. And we could even say, helping people relax and balance out living in this world of technology and work and kids in this, and everything else, and relationships, etc. 24/7 news, all of that. So there's all of these different tools and techniques, to help people feel well, hence the like mass products. I mean, you could go on and on. But what I know that is so powerful about the type of work that you do and the research I've done about it is that it's not a band-aid. It's actually it's into to your cellular, and it's natural, it's neurobiological. I mean, I just, for everyone listening who might not go read all about it, like somatic experiencing includes stress physiology, psychology, ethology, biology, neuroscience, indigenous healing, medical biophysics, and then there's all of the experience and resources that the own practitioner brings. Like, right. So, getting a massage or, all these things that people do to balance out is great. But if you're not going deep to what's truly in your body, it's going to do that. And then it's going to make you feel good that day or that week. And so my last question is, what's your advice for people that haven't necessarily invested in themselves in this way, but they are, and let's come back to this, everyone listening, if you're having body pain or relationship challenges with your, this is literally everybody, maybe doctor's visits, sleep, problems of sleep, like your thoughts and your heads is going crazy. So because this really is about truly understanding yourself and healing from the inside out. So, so my last question is what advice do you have for people that maybe feel like, oh gosh, I don't know if I have the time. Do I really want to do this? But I guess what I want you to say is why it's worth it. I guess that's my last point, is why is it worth it for people to do this type of work?
I can only speak from that personally, actually, because to some people it's not. And I think it's more like, at the risk of sounding cliche or cheesy, like, am I worth it? Might be also like a follow-up question, or maybe a primary question. But there's a couple things I feel are important to say to that. One is, we need all the management strategies we can have. I want to have a toolkit full of tools. So massages, chiro, friends, like everything that I bring into my life that helps me manage That might be meds. That might be regular doctor's visits to follow up with what's going on in my body. Whatever feels helpful and supportive, we really, really need that. And there's also this dynamic that I notice of looking outside of ourselves to deal with the inside of ourselves. We need that at some level, but what I see over and over and over again when I work with people, it's all inside. All the answers and the truth and the stories of what we've gone through, it all lives inside of us. We have to go inside in order to repair and heal. So yes, we need the support and the help from outside, but if we become reliant on the outside, then I think we're missing the point. It's all inside. I don't want to see clients for years and years and years. I mean, sometimes that's the level of the repair work that we're doing.
Yeah.
But when people start to feel like their capacity is increased, they have access to regulation, their resilience is growing, I don't want to see them for a while or for a long time, because they get to live and enjoy this. So I'm a resource. Practitioners are resources, but to go for years and years and years and years is kind of giving your power outside of yourself. It's outsourcing your inherent, the gifts that we've been given inside of our bodies that we're actually made to heal.
Yes. Yes.
We're
And I truly believe that of different stories and people and bodies can heal, right? We do have that.
Yeah, it's innate in us. This is why the work works.
Yes. Yes. Oh, we might need to schedule a follow-up session in the future, but well, you've provided so much wisdom, and I'm inspired, even though I've, talked to you before, just renewed inspiration. So thank you for sharing all of this. And for people who want to learn more about you, connect with you, and learn more about somatic experiencing, where can people go to find you?
To find me, if they Google my name, which is Tanya Wishlove, my bio will come up online and they can find me that way. And if they want to learn about somatic experiencing, they can do the same thing. There's going to be lots of information that comes up, but the Somatic Experiencing Trauma Institute is kind of where maybe the majority of like information that will talk directly about this work. And then there's also a practitioners list on there that people can look up for their area if they want to work with people. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
I'd love that, Tia. Thank you for having me.